The president's reported goal to end the conflict without reopening the strait highlights the contrast to the so-called Pottery Barn rule, pottery store. Thomas Friedman applied it to the 2003 Iraq War. You know the old Pottery Barn, pottery store rule. You break it, you own it. The idea took hold amongst policymakers at the time, as the former Secretary of State Colin Powell told the Aspen Institute in 7.
I took him through not only the military planning that was being done in the Pentagon, but I took him through the consequences of going into an Arab country and becoming the occupiers. It is said that I used the Pottery Barn rule. I never did it. Friedman did it. He's next. He's the one who did that. But what I did say to him, once you break it, you're going to own it, and we're going to be responsible for 26 million people standing there looking at us.
The late Colin Powell. Ian Bremmer's with me, President of the Eurasia Group and G0 Media. Go get the oil. Is that a version of trying to avoid the Pottery Barn rule, do you think? The president's basically saying, well, we may have broken it, but you're going to have to go and fix it. Off you go.
He's trying to find a win, and he's not capable of reopening the strait with the military plans that are presently in front of him. Owning the oil is a big long-term win. The U.S. is the largest producer of oil. They have control now, surprisingly to many people, over the largest reserves in the world in Venezuela. And if you suddenly were able to control the oil coming out of Kharg Island, shut it on and off at will, you have a meaningful response to the weaponization of critical minerals that the Chinese have globally. But you know that we are very far from that outcome today. And so we can talk about it, but there's a lot of damage that's going to happen to the global economy and to Trump's own popularity before this becomes something we can see as feasible.
So where do you assess the situation now? As we look at it, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. You've got supposed talks going backwards and forwards. What's your assessment?
Trump is very upset that he can't end this in a way that looks anything like a loss in the near term. He can say that it's fine for the straits to stay closed, but then he's ceding to the Iranians the capacity to make enormous amounts of money, spend it on whatever they want, with the same regime still in place. So that's not a win. I don't think he can tolerate that. I think that's why the 7,000 troops are heading into the Gulf. I don't think they're going to be given shore leave. I think they're going to be ordered into combat. Trump would rather not use ground forces, but if he can't get the outcome he wants, which is control of the strait and letting the ships through, he can toy with the idea that the Europeans, the Indians, someone else has to do it. But ultimately, it is on him. And the pain, even though he says that the rest of the world are the folks that use the strait, Richard, you and I know better, the impact is going to be felt absolutely everywhere, including by people that vote for Trump, or at least used to vote for Trump.
What do you think is the state of Gulf country alliances? Oman has been very critical in a sense. You've got places, I mean, the UAE and to a certain extent Qatar must be wondering what they've hitched themselves to and whether it's worth it.
So, Richard, nobody wanted the war before it started. Nobody wanted this type of risk that had the potential to blow back the shutdown of the strait. Everyone knew that. Military planners in the U.S., everyone in the Gulf. Now that you have it, the Gulf states have different perspectives. The Emiratis would like the Americans to continue because they are deeply concerned about what happens if Iran has this capacity and stays in this position. The UAE is very vulnerable. The Saudis would be more comfortable if the Americans packed it up and said, it's a win, leave it. Because the Saudis can get 7 million barrels of oil out, not using the strait. They're in a much better economic condition. They're worried about a global recession. They're worried about the impact of further escalation. But if the war continues, the Saudis are okay with it. They'll go along with the Americans. Bahrain's with Saudi Arabia. The Qataris want this war over now. Yesterday, they just took a $20 billion hit to their LNG fields. They're in serious trouble. They want this over.
So what do you see as the next crucial step that I need to keep my eye on?
Well, there's 2 points here, Richard. The first is what happens when all the troops are there and ready to be deployed, ready to be ordered into combat. Does Trump do that? And where are they deployed first? Do they take the islands that are contested, the small 3 islands in the middle of the strait, or are they used primarily for raids against coastal areas to further diminish Iran's ability to engage in strikes on the strait? That is the big thing that is coming. Until then, I mean, obviously follow Trump tweets, because that will allow you to continue to have audience and things to discuss, but it doesn't matter for outcomes. The thing to watch out for on the ongoing basis is that on any given day, the potential for a mistake, a miscalculation of this war, like we saw when the Israelis hit South Pars or when there was a big oil field in Tehran, we are one escalatory mistake away from devastation of a Gulf economy. You destroy a desalination plant in Kuwait or in the UAE, and you've got major cities that are unlivable. You've got millions that are suddenly going to leave. And so we really do, there's a lot at stake that isn't baseline, but the risk is being run every day that you continue this war in unfettered fashion.
I'm grateful, Ian. Good to see you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good to see you, my friend.